like to know what is going to happen to the development of the Stag Brewery in Mortlake.
It's sad to see the brewery going and to lose the last part of our industrial history. But I agree with the community that it's really important that what replaces it works well for local residents. And we need to preserve the playing fields. We need to make sure there's access to the river. It can't be wall-to-wall luxury housing. We need possibly a school, a new primary school on the site. I think many people feel that's important. Maybe a bus station to replace the awful one and dangerous one at Avondale Road. So there's an awful lot of potential. What I think is important is the community has as much input as possible. I mean, there is a caveat, which is the brewery is privately owned, it belongs to a private company, and it's not in any way owned by the local council. So it will be a private company that decides its future, and the only control that the council and the community will have will be through the planning rules, which are quite limited in their powers. But I think if we keep engaging with the developer, and that's the process that's going on now, we keep expressing our views, we try and persuade them that the best solution is going to be one that works for everybody, local residents as well as for the company, then I think we can end up with something that is an enormous benefit.
My question is this, is that I think, strangely enough, that there should actually be a reduction in the amount of police presence in Richmond, that we're over-policed. And I think a lot of money is being wasted and a lot of innocent citizens are being harassed. I wonder if she has any opinions on that.
This is an area where we completely disagree. I am very much in favour of keeping up police numbers both in Richmond and in Kingston. You know, back in the year 2000, when I was the Liberal Democrat candidate for Mayor of London, I proposed what are now our safer neighbourhood teams. It's a policy we stood on, and the other parties all said we were crackers, and they later adopted the idea. And I think of the difference it's made in cutting down antisocial behaviour, helping people feel much safer out on the streets, older people feeling safer in their homes, young people in fact often turning around their lives, and I don't want to lose any of that. In fact, I'm going to be fighting the London Conservatives' plans to actually reduce police numbers in London, because I know those cuts, if they have their way, will end up falling on our area. We have the two safest boroughs in London, and I think we want to make sure it stays that way, and police numbers are an essential part of that.
Would you take the troops out of Afghanistan, or do you take the view, which is my view, that whatever the reasonable costs, we've got to stay there until we get rid of these fundamentalists, whether we call them Al-Qaeda or the Taliban?
As you know, I was completely opposed to the invasion of Iraq, but I do see Afghanistan as very different. But again, we're going to have a political solution to Afghanistan, and what really worries me is I don't see the work with the tribal leaders. There's been relatively little work to clean up the Karzai government, which has a reputation of being one of the most corrupt in the world. Again, not much work going on with India, Pakistan, the countries that surround Afghanistan, China, even Iran, because in the end they're going to be the guarantors of any long-term stability. So I am very concerned that we're not doing enough on the political side. If we do that, then I support keeping our troops in, as it were, to hold the line and deal with the military crisis that is at hand. But that, I think, is the pact we have to have with our troops, that we're making sure there's going to be a successful long-term solution.